Happiness is one of our life's greatest pursuits. But what if I told you that the harder you try to be happy, the more miserable you actually become? Sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. In this video, we explore why too much of a good thing is a bad thing, using insights from Dr. Anna Lembke's book, Dopamine Nation, which you can also check out in the description below. Dopamine is a chemical in your brain that makes you feel good. It's released when you do things that your brain perceives as rewarding, like finishing a big project at work. That rush of pleasure and accomplishment you feel, that's dopamine! In other words, our brain's reward system is designed to reinforce behaviors that are beneficial for our survival and well-being. It's like the brain's way of saying, hey, that was great, let's do it again. But here's where it gets tricky. We live in an age of instant gratification. Everything from our phones to our food is designed to give us quick bursts of pleasure. And while that sounds good on paper, it's actually messing with our happiness. Because the more we get these quick hits, the more our brain seeks them, leading to an imbalanced reward system that makes it harder for us to experience joy in everyday activities. Our society nowadays is hooked on dopamine, to the point where we find ourselves constantly craving mindless scrolling, fast food and binge-watching shows. This constant exposure to dopamine rewires our brain and primes us to keep seeking these quick pleasures constantly. But here's the catch. Over time, our brain's reward system gets overwhelmed and it starts to desensitize, meaning we need more and more dopamine to feel the same level of pleasure. This leads to a cycle of addiction, where we're always chasing that next high but never truly feeling satisfied. Imagine you start playing a new video game. At first, it's super exciting, you can't wait to get home and play. But after a while, the excitement starts to fade, and to get that same thrill you got initially, you start to play more. But the truth is, this initial excitement becomes harder and harder to reach, leaving you feeling unsatisfied in the long run. Dr. Lembke in her book Dopamine Nation explains that this relentless pursuit of pleasure can lead to real-life consequences. Anxiety, depression, and a general sense of dissatisfaction with life. We're caught in a loop where more is never enough. When you eat your favourite junk food, say a chocolate bar, it feels great for a moment. But soon, that feeling fades, and you find yourself reaching for another, and then another. Your conscious mind telling you to stop. But the reality is that the next dopamine hit in the form of a chocolate bar is right there. This constant chasing overstimulates our brain's reward system. Over time, our brains get used to these high levels of stimulation, and the baseline for feeling good gets higher and higher. What used to make us happy no longer does. So, we end up needing more intense or frequent hits just to feel normal. This desensitization process makes genuine happiness harder to achieve. This is why, despite having so many sources of pleasure at our fingertips, so many of us feel unhappy and unfulfilled. Think of it like this. Our brain's pleasure centers have a built-in tolerance mechanism. The more we stimulate them, the less sensitive they become. It's like turning up the volume on a radio to get the same sound. Over time, we need more and more of the same activity to achieve the same level of pleasure. This is called tolerance. And with increased tolerance comes decreased satisfaction from the same activities. This is how someone might start with a moderate use of social media and eventually find themselves spending hours scrolling without feeling any happier. Dr. Lembke uses the seesaw analogy to explain this balance. Imagine a seesaw, with pleasure on one side and dissatisfaction on the other. When we press down hard on the pleasure side, we feel good initially, but the seesaw swings back, bringing dissatisfaction. The more we push for pleasure, the harder the swing back to dissatisfaction. This rebound effect is our brain's way of maintaining balance, and it explains why overindulgence leads to misery. Practicing mindfulness regularly, not only helps us stay present in the moment, but also enables us to fully appreciate the experiences and sensations of our everyday lives. By cultivating mindfulness, we can reduce stress, improve our emotional regulation, and enhance our overall well-being. Taking regular digital detoxes, which involve intentionally disconnecting from smartphones, computers, and tablets, gives our brain a much-needed break from the constant barrage of information and stimulation. By doing so, we can improve our focus, reduce anxiety, and reconnect with the world around us in a more meaningful and mindful way. And finding joy in simple pleasures, such as spending time in nature or enjoying a hobby, can bring genuine happiness without overwhelming our dopamine system. By appreciating the small things in life, we can cultivate a sense of contentment and well-being that contributes to our overall happiness and mental health. Another crucial step is to embrace the idea of pressing on the pain and dissatisfaction side of the seesaw. This means engaging in activities that might be uncomfortable initially, but lead to greater rewards later. Think about exercise, fasting, or even cold showers. These activities can increase dopamine production in a balanced way, making us feel happier and more content in the long run. The pursuit of happiness doesn't have to make us miserable. By understanding the dopamine trap and finding balance, we can find true contentment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.